Can spirituality help with trauma? The simple answer is yes, absolutely. In fact, by my definition of the terms, spirituality, spiritual awakening, is the exact opposite of trauma. It is the complete healing of trauma. So let me see if I can help you to understand this by helping you to understand first the terms. It all depends on how you define things. I like, when it comes to trauma work, I strongly recommend Dr. Gabor Mate, and I like his definition of trauma. Trauma is not the thing that happened to you. Trauma is the thing that occurred because of what happened to you. So it is like if you were to get cut, trauma would be the scar of the cutting. If you were to get burnt, trauma would be the fact that you were now afraid of fire and you live your entire life in fear of fire. Another way of thinking about trauma, especially if it's persistent trauma, and usually the things that burn us the worst are the things that happen when we're in childhood. So traumatic childhoods, it is very often things like sexual abuse, physical abuse. Let's just normalize saying this. So many people have gone through those things. Most people have gone through those things. We live in a world where it's like that's the real pandemic. We're all infected with this thing inside of us, and we go around infecting others. And so many people out there are hurting children in various ways. And we are the adults who survived that. And we have to figure out how to fix that. But there's also smaller traumas. Fear of abandonment, fear of isolation, traumas from your siblings. And those, I use the word smaller because people think that trauma is only if you were abused or if you almost died. And they view the other things as smaller traumas. But the truth is they are all traumas. They create in you fear, and they create in you a sense of aloneness and a sense of helplessness. And they create emotional memory, and that emotional memory becomes lodged in your body and turns into disease. And they create in you memories that haunt you more and more as you get older. Whatever your trauma is, it is the thing that cuts you off from your true being. Okay? One way of thinking about this is the moment the trauma occurs, an event occurs to you, your trauma response is to just freeze in spot. Because for the first time in your innocent life as a child, you experience fear, immobilizing fear. And this fear makes you stop moving because you don't know where to go. And then it makes you want to protect yourself. So you build up walls around yourself and you build a prison cell for yourself. And you say, I'm going to stand here because here is safe. And I'm going to look around and make sure it doesn't happen again. And then with time, you forget that you did that. And that now becomes your identity, your egoic identity. It becomes your sense of self. And with time, you soften that. And it turns into not just, this is the prison that I have built and this is how I maintain my prison. But after a while, because you forgot where it originated from, this actually becomes who you are. It becomes the life that you work towards, the life that you are protecting. It becomes mistaken as your ambition, as your life path. Sometimes it's your career. And you think that this is something beautiful, but when you really, really peel through the layers, do you really want to become successful in this career? Or is it just a form of the fact that you are afraid of financial scarcity because of something that happened in your childhood? Are you really a very ambitious and competitive person? Or were you broken by rivalry with your siblings when you were younger? Do you really love independence and freedom? I love a nomadic lifestyle. I love being single. I love casual relationships. I don't want to get married. Or were you traumatized by unhealthy forms of ownership and control and confinement that you witnessed as a child? Now, I'm not saying that these things are wrong. I'm saying that chances are You have some version of one of those things in your life. You have begun to tell yourself that this is what I want and what I like and what I'm working towards. And you have started to define your success as how well I can maintain these things. But when you go through spiritual awakening, your spirit awakens and your spirit says, I am tired of living this way. I did not come to this physical realm to live this way. What you think is your life is really just the walls that you built around yourself because of your trauma response. Okay, so that is the definition of trauma. It is the way you respond to something, and that becomes so normalized in life that it becomes who you are, what you do, and why you do it. But what now is the definition of spirituality or spirit? What is the spiritual awakening? Spirit is not something that you will become when you die, and it is not something that is a little part of your being that will leave your body when you die. Spirit is everything that exists, and you are part of that. An easy way of thinking about this is that you don't have a spirit, you are spirit. Spirit, your spirit came into this world. A little piece of your spirit decided to try this world out for a short time. If you're familiar with my channel, then you're familiar with the metaphor of the iceberg. So you'll have a large iceberg, and there's this big, huge mass under the waterline. And a little tiny piece that's just poking up on top. And that little tiny piece in this metaphor is what you think you are. I am my body. This is my name. This is when I was born. This is my race, my gender, my address, my occupation. And I will only exist for 70 or 80 years. That is what you think you are. But the truth is you are the entire mass. You are the entire iceberg. And this part of your being that is below the waterline that you are not aware of or that you have forgotten is your spirit. So you are not occasionally spirit or part spirit. You are spirit. So spirit is your nature. It is the place from which you act or should be acting. And it is the place where your consciousness is based or should be based. Another way of thinking about it is that is where your eyes are. They can be or should be from that place perceiving life from there. And you should be like a child, a brand new baby. You should know that, oh, I came into this world. I came into the physical world. A little piece of me is here, a little piece of me is here, and I'm physical, and I love this physical world, but I am based in the spirit world as spirit. That is what we were. If you can remember as far back as possible, even in theory, even as a theoretical contemplation in your meditations, can you remember what it was like to be a baby? Before you knew your pains and your traumas and your fears, before you knew your parents and your culture and your society, before you knew your name, when you were a brand new baby, what was life like? Can you imagine what that was like? That is where you want to go back to. So spiritual awakening is when that aspect of yourself, the vast majority of yourself, is tired of stepping aside and wants to reawaken, wants you to come back to that existence. Okay, so let's go back to the relationship between trauma and spirituality. Trauma, so your being, you are spirit. What does that mean? It means you are all powerful, you are all knowing, you are eternal. You have always existed, will always exist. You are made of pure light, pure love. You are perfect. You are untouched. And you are untouchable. If an actor steps on stage and plays the role of someone who is brutally murdered, the actor cannot be murdered. I'm not trying to belittle this existence or the pain that you have been through. I'm trying to remind you that you are an actor in a role for a short while. The role does have pain. It has pain. But you cannot be touched by it. Not truly, truly, truly touched. What trauma has done to you is that you have, let's use the example of sexual abuse. It is an easy metaphor to understand, and it relates to so many people. And I really want to use a metaphor of the physical. So sexual abuse is a great example, but understand that this occurs with any form of trauma. Anything that makes you feel fear, anything that makes you feel injustice, anything that makes you feel hate, anything that makes you feel alone or helpless. Those are all traumatic events that create trauma patterns. But let's talk about sexual abuse. When someone is sexually abused, before that, they are connected with spirit. It is your divine right to be connected with your energy body, to feel your chakras, to feel the energy flowing through your being, to feel vital. It is your divine right to be aware of consciousness at the level of spirit. It is your divine right to live in your heart, to feel love, to feel joy, to feel peace, to perceive the fact that you are connected with life, that you are connected with nature, and that you are connected with other people. That is how you are intended to live. And that is how you were until this, let's call it sexual abuse, occurred to you. When the sexual abuse occurs, the pain is so intense that all you become aware of is your body. And immediately, going back to that iceberg with that waterline, the waterline becomes a wall, and everything else is invisible to you. All you're aware of is your body. Me. I am my body. My body was violated. There was injustice and there was fear. So now you have the emotion of that, and you carry that emotion inside of you, and it's too much for you to face. So now you develop behavior patterns that try to ignore that emotion. And because that emotion is not processed, that emotion causes disease. And then, of course, with that comes memories. And the memories are thoughts. And the thoughts are things you don't want to think about. So you try to evade the thoughts. So then you get into habits and substances and anger and abuse and addictions, whatever, right? I'm trying to be quick about this. I'm not trying to belittle it. I'm just trying to show it to you in a little nutshell. So here you are, a being who is perfect and untouchable, living in the heart space, experiencing only the emotions or the feelings of love, peace, and joy, connected to all of life, connected to all of people, connected to your spirit, seeing from spirit, interpreting from the divine, eternal form of spirit, feeling your body, feeling your vitality, feeling the energy that flows through your body. And then all of a sudden, bam, cut that off. All you are is a body with bad emotions, intense emotions, and bad memories. And none of it feels good anymore. None of it feels good. Your body feels, ugh. Your mind feels like, make it stop. And your emotions are too painful to face, and you're willing to invent any form of life that will prevent you from having to face those emotions. And you bottle those emotions until they turn into acid to your body and create a disease. So this is, you can understand that metaphor, right? You can understand it's not a metaphor, it's a process. That same thing occurs to you if you were ever physically beaten. If you grew up in one of those homes where it was a common occurrence to see your mother cry. It also, if you went through extreme poverty, if there was injustice, if you saw injustice, if your father went through injustice at his work, if your sibling was unbelievably cruel and insecure towards you, if your teachers abused you, if you saw the abuse in your other friends, whatever, some version of what I just described occurred to you. And now your existence has become limited to a body in pain, emotions that are painful, a mind that is causing you pain. And all of this is just spiraling out of control. And it is turning into a nightmare that is worse and worse. Spiritual awakening is, in my opinion, the only thing that can fully cure this. Now listen carefully. I'm not saying that these things are bad. I'm just saying that therapy, shadow work, healing, microdosing, all of those things will help you to understand what you have become and what caused that to happen. You will find the roots. It's like pulling on a string. You will find what created you, and you will slowly, one by one, heal each and every one of those things. And that is beautiful, and it is a process that is needed. But if that is all that you are doing, you will never fully heal. Your healing process will be incomplete because you're trying to heal the body, and you're trying to heal the emotions, and you're trying to heal the mind. What is broken is one thing and one thing alone. What is broken is that you have severed your relationship with spirit, the connection. You have forgotten the massive ice under the water that is your true being. You have forgotten to hear guidance from spirit. You have forgotten the path to your heart space being the God consciousness where you live and experience through love and connection. Heart space is where you are connected to the other people in the world, where you have healthy relationships, where you have a healthy worldview, where you have a healthy relationship with the society around you. Heart space is where inspiration comes from, creativity comes from. It's where beauty and joy are experienced. And no matter how much you put the mind through therapy, and no matter how much you process your emotions, and no matter how much you go through the processes of releasing and forgiving, all of those are good processes. You do need to go through them. But no matter how much you do them, you will not heal. You will not heal 100% heal until you reconnect with spirit. I hope that this video was helpful in some way. The reason that I do this, I have named my channel A Friend on the Inside, is because I had developed trauma patterns in my life that had caused me to build an absolutely disastrous life. Unfulfilling, painful, lonely, unconnected, with no love and no light in it. That is the life that I was living, and I didn't want to live it anymore. The nightmare had gotten so bad that I just wanted to wake up from the nightmare. And I fell into an extremely deep depression. And it was very fortunate that my spiritual awakening guided me to the understanding that the person that I think I am is just a guardian. It's just a tool, a device that is used by the thing that I really am, the being that I really am. And one day, I suppose I could say there was one moment, but there was really a progressive series of moments where I became aware of the fact that there was another layer of my consciousness. There was a part of me that could experience love and peace. There was a part of me that could get guidance. There was a part of me that could experience silence. I still remember the first time my mind went silent. The best moment, truly. And then eventually, shortly after that, I experienced feeling guidance from my higher self, from my inner being, from my spirit. And that is, to this day, what I would consider to be the greatest moment of my life. That occurred 8 years ago, almost to the day, actually. Yeah, in about a month or so, it'll be 8 years. And my entire life completely flipped around. I did have to go through and do the shadow work and the self-awareness and self-assessment and the journaling and the healing and the affirmations. I had to do all of that. But the moment I touched my spirit and remembered that I am a spirit, and I saw my ego and I said, that is a part of me. Everything that I considered to be my life up until that moment, I realized that is a part of me. When I saw that, a complete and utter healing occurred instantaneously. And everything else after that was a purifying and a strengthening and a cleansing and a rearranging of the aspects of my ego and my body. But the healing occurred in that moment. And I do this channel to try to help you to understand contacting that friend on the inside, dwelling as that friend on the inside, and allowing your spirit to awaken and live as you were intended is the purpose of your life, and it is the deepest healing that there is. I will continue to do these videos. I'm going to post for the next 3 or 4 days a couple more videos on this concept: trauma, forgiveness, healing, spirit, contacting your spirit, that kind of stuff. However, it is essentially all that I talk about, so go and look at the other videos. If you're impatient and you don't want to wait 2 or 3 days for the other videos to come out, look at what I already have. There's one called Hearing Guidance from Your Spirit. There's another one called Seeing Through the Eyes of Spirit. The Dimension Where There Are No Troubles. These are all just fancy, catchy phrases that explain the same concept, right? Please, I encourage you to delve into this. I am only doing this because it helped me. And every time anyone asks me for help or advice or guidance on any topic, whether it's a topic of trauma or it's a topic of I'm frustrated at work or what do I do with my boyfriend, whatever topic somebody asks me for help in, I understand that there's no advice that I can give you that is as useful as saying, find your spirit, reconnect with your spirit. Do whatever you need to do to get there, and instantly and spontaneously, everything will be healed. If you are an actor playing a role and you have forgotten that you are that actor and you're lost in that role and that role is absolutely terrible, it would be wrong of me to tell you how to adjust life in that role. The only help I can tell you is to remember the actor. If you're dreaming and the dream is turning into a nightmare and you come to me for help, I will not give you advice on how to adjust the dream. I will tell you to contact the dreamer. This is what I'm here telling you. This is what all of my other videos are telling you, and I hope that this is helpful for you. I do genuinely hope that this helps. Have a wonderful day, everyone.